award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching, for listening. We got another great show lined up for you today. We are back at the Cumberland River Aquatic Center in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Yes.
Don King helping me co-host.
We're three for three here, you know?
Yeah, we come to a great place like this, we got to keep it rolling.
Oh, I know it. I know.
If you haven't watched or listened to the last couple of weeks, you need to go back and do that.
Definitely.
To just check out those shows, learn more about this facility. We really touched on the history and kind of where it's come from and what it is today. And then we've also touched on the life cycle of mussels and just mussel history and things like that. Today we're going to touch on mussel production and the work that Dan and Jason and the crew over here behind us are doing in this facility. So I'm excited to have you guys back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is Dan Waugh and Jason Wisniewski, and I'll let them do a quick introduction on their title and what they do for the agency. That way I don't miss anything, and we'll jump into what's happening here. But Dan, I'll let you start.
All right. I'm the biologist and also the manager for this facility in TWRA, or Cumberland River Aquatic Center, since 2015. After I spent 12 years at Virginia Tech as the manager for the Freshwater Mollusk Conservation Center. And since then, we started the mussel propagation program placed in Tennessee.
Yes.
All right.
We're glad to have you in Tennessee for sure. Jason, go ahead.
I'm Jason Wisniewski. I'm the Mollusk Conservation Coordinator here with TWRA, and basically I compliment Dan as the the field component of the work that she does, and I help her to find the broodstock, collect broodstock or fish, or do anything that she may need to.
She's the boss.
Well, yeah, she is the boss. No, we're.
I don't know who boss who.
Yeah, we just it's one of those things. Nobody's a boss. It's just the species and the resource are the boss, and we just do whatever we can to protect and enhance it.
That's cool. That's a good way to put it.
Good team here. Good team all the way around.
And everyone who works in wildlife, that's what they're working for, to protect it, enhance it, make it better. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
All for the animals.
All for the animals,
Yep.
Yeah. That's great. So CRAC, we've touched on it, Cumberland River Aquatic Center. At one point, it was in a smaller shop out back here, or further up, I guess, a little bit. And we're on the property here at Gallatin Fossil Plant, Steam Plant. We had some raceways and a vision of David Sims. We got those up and running a few years, and then they needed that property back. So they built us this facility with partnerships between TVA and Corps of Engineers and Fish and Wildlife Service and all kinds of people. And now we have this where we are able to produce these mussels, propagate these mussels, and get them back into the system.
That's right.
The ones that are endangered and even ones that aren't. We're able to get those back and add more out there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So real quick, we're going to summarize the importance of mussels. What's the role of that mussel out there?
All right. And probably you do not really often realize how do they do, in our lifetime, but they are very important in our ecosystem, because the freshwater mussel, they are filter feeder, and they remove all the particles and from the water system for us. So that means they are cleaning our water for us.
Yeah.
And the other one is they are water quality indicate, because they have the limited of the movement. So if there's anything happening in the ecosystem, and they are the one firstly got impact. So if there's something happen, you see there's the mussel, die off. That means the ecosystem is going on. That is wrong. So that, and also for the mussels, and that's beyond the ecological importance, there's also commercial importance as well. Some species, they can make jewelries, or they can make button, or they can make the pearls as well. And that is some of the species they can play this role, for the for us. So that's why we love them. And the most important thing is the Endangered Species Act is like a foundation, and you may be able to lose one or two species. The building still be okay, the foundation still be okay, but when you lose 20% of the species or the parts of the foundation,
right,
that building is disabled. So that's kind of we don't want loss all those species.
Much bigger impact.
Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of they play the great role in the whole ecosystem.
Well, and as Jason mentioned in the earlier show, it's one of the most diverse areas,
right,
for mussels. So the Southeast, not just Tennessee, but all across Georgia and Alabama and different areas that it's important that we protect these species and make sure they're still around and keep our waters healthy and clean and filtrated. And I mean, it plays a big role, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I like to mention to folks. Like these mussels are out there. They live in the bottom of your rivers and streams, and they're filtering the algae. Well, that algae is food for your little zooplankton stuff that's crawling around out there that you don't even see, you can't really see, but that's what your larval fish feed on. Those larval fish turn into big fish. Those turn into bait for your bass, your whatever fish you like to fish for.
Yeah.
That affects everything through the entire food web. And as those mussels filtrate and do their jobs out there, they are basically having a trophic cascade in the watersheds that can affect everything. Even if you have no interest in mussels, it might be affecting other stuff. And then of course there's other things that as we do more research, we might find that mussels are really important for. We know so very little about what the importance of a lot of species are for us or for the natural environment, but who's to say that some time down the road somebody doesn't do some research on mussels? I've never seen a tumor on a mussel. Maybe it can occur, but maybe there's some key there to curing cancer.
Yeah, you never know.
That's why we don't want to see these things go away, because they serve all sorts of purposes. And one of the things I always like to say is somebody much smarter than me put them there, so it's not my job to question.
It's just your job to protect them.
Take care of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Take care of them.
And as Dan said, it's kind of they can be the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, as far as aquatic things go. When you see issues with mussels not surviving in a certain watershed or a certain area of a stream or river, then you look deeper. You say, well, what's going on here? Yeah. So it's
and one of the things that I think this will be a good segue into the this episode is that a lot of times what happens is these mussels can be fairly resilient to where you'll see adults staying in a particular each river. Everything's doing great, and then one day those animals just blink out. And you think, okay, it's some problem that's happening right now, but actually the problem happened 20, 30 years ago because they weren't reproducing.
Oh.
And whenever that reproduction stops, there's nothing to replace those older animals. And that's kind of where propagation facilities like CRAC come into play, in which we can actually produce some of those juvenile mussels to put them out in these rivers that might not be having good reproduction, especially once we find out what was harming the rivers or harming the waters to where they weren't reproducing naturally.
Yeah.
So that's really where the value of facilities like this really come into play.
Right.
Well, Dan, do you want to kind of elaborate on that and talk about the processes here and kind of how maybe Jason's collection, and he brings in the brood, and then you're working with these mussels to propagate them?
Yeah, the main thing here is the process just for here to happen. There's two things going on right now. One is using the natural mussel life cycle, and we need to get the fish and get the mussel for them to in here. in-house for the propagation and get them, produced, and based on the species what we trying to work with.
So it's that's the natural
Natural cycle.
Trying to give them the best elements they have here
Yeah.
to reproduce.
Yeah. And the other thing is which we have been working on that since I got here since 2015, graduate work from the, for setting a laboratory for the in vitro culture.
Uh-huh.
So the in vitro culture is apply the cell culture techniques and then produce the juvenile mussels in the petri dish and not have to use any fish as a host.
Okay.
So that way, because lots of time and you will have the challenging find the right fish host for the species, and all the same hosts they could work at a certain distance, but they cannot produce good number of the juvenile mussels for you. So that way, if we could, use that technique into this propagation of the fresh mussel, that would be ideal. So that was this year, and I had tried over 9 species I worked with using the in vitro culture and success, and we produce more juvenile mussels through the in vitro culture.
Wow.
So the vitro culture, which is if you Google it, you will find basically you have to have the basic medium, and you have to have the nutrients from animal, which we use the rabbit and the horse. You'll never get the link between the fresh mussels and the horse. But in this in vitro culture, you can use that, and they worked great. And I think probably the horse is the first time we have been used for the in vitro culture of freshwater mussels. And then
So the rabbit and the horse.
And it's their blood, right?
that's blood
Okay. And you
And-
mix that with
mixed with the basic medium. And also we need to put antibiotics, because otherwise you'll get contaminant going in the petri dish, right? So with that, and put them in the petri dish, put them in the controlled environment, which is incubate
Okay.
for certain days. Then they will have the development of everything. The organs start with until they develop everything until the foot developed. So that's the time you can get them out, and then they become juvenile mussels. And that's kind of cool stuff. And you do not have to follow all those natural life cycle, and just use the in vitro culture techniques to produce the juvenile mussels.
That's cool.
And one of the real benefits of that is, and Dan kind of talked about that life cycle of the mussels. Whenever you're dealing with mussels, you have to be able to hold those animals to keep them alive, the mussels themselves. Then you have to also hold those fish. And whenever these mussels infest the fish, it's actually a parasite that's going on there. So you're inducing an additional stress onto those fish that makes it difficult to hold those fish and keep them alive, keep them disease-free. That's whenever diseases set in, is whenever animals are stressed.
Right.
So if we can remove that whole component, that is one thing that can make her life a lot easier when it comes to propagation. So
Yeah, this is still during the research, because of the CRAC, also a research center. So this is another study, see if the progeny would be any different from the fish or from the mussel. Had been studied before, and but it's just a certain limited level. So we still continue to compare the juvenile mussels from the fish host or from the in vitro, and see if there's any genetic difference for the generations. But I believe this would be the goal. For some species, even you do not find their host fish, you do not know if what the host for them. So, but at least we can have them grow out, in the in vitro.
Yeah.
And before they gone, you cannot wait until one day you say, oh, we already lost them because we didn't get any host fish for them. And we tried, we couldn't find a host fish. But if we use the in vitro culture technique, we get them into the in vitro, and then we produce them.
Right.
At least have
Something.
something. Yeah.
Yes.
And then, like you said, compare those species and see.
Yep.
I think it's amazing. It's groundbreaking things happening right here in Tennessee, which is cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Very cool. And the percentage rate that's coming out, I mean, you're having success, right? With
Yes.
these, they're surviving. What's that? Was it like 98% or something like that?
You mean the recap, the monitoring, or you're talking about?
Well, as you're growing these mussels and releasing, you're able to
okay.
release.
Yeah,
Good numbers.
let's start from the production. Since we started the mussel propagation work,
Uh-huh.
it's about 252,000 juvenile mussels has been produced.
Right. Okay.
Represent 19 species. And of those 19 species of freshwater mussels, 14 are federally listed endangered. So it
Okay.
has been produced. And then over 20,000 mussels have been restored in Tennessee. And a few portion of them we also give, the other states and for their restoration work
Uh-huh.
when we have, the extra, mussels produced. So we have been doing that. Oh,
That's awesome. So, 252,000
yes,
juvenile mussels, 19 species since 2016
2016.
have been
Yeah.
reintroduced or put back.
Yeah, and because when we started, because everything when I got here is just the building. So the time when you start to work with the mussels, you still start to build all the system at the same time. So it's kind of pretty new facility, but I think I'm proud we could produce that good number of the fresh mussels since then. And one of the species I want to mention is the pale lilliput that was had been considering already extinct in Tennessee. And back to 2015, they found a small population in Lake Creek.
Okay.
And then 2016, because I got here by end of July, so that's already past that propagation season. So I didn't get a chance to work with this species. And 2016, and Don Hub, and I found this species again. And he brought me 10 individual of this, pale lilliput.
10 of those. Okay.
Yeah, then he said, can you work with this one? I said, oh yeah, I would love to. I know that we don't have it in Virginia. So start to work with that species 2016, produced 4,000 of those juvenile mussels out of that batch. So
Wow.
that number is kind of so exciting. And then also we got those results sent to Fish and Wildlife Service. And that's how I be able to bring in $1 million for CREC to do the propagation and the restoration of freshwater mussels. And I think that's kudos to the first batch out of the pale lilliput, which
Yeah.
produced back 2016.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, you all propagate these. Do you mark them? Do you tag them? Do you make sure you know where they are and be able to track them and follow up on these animals?
Yes.
These mussels? Yeah.
We do, because once all those mussels get to the taggable size, that's the time we get them tagged or labeled before we put them out.
Okay.
So we have different tagging techniques. One is use the kind of plastic piece we call whole print tag, and then for the if we have large number, we'll just label them with the blue dots. And then most all of the endangered species, if not tagged with another one as a pit tag, we will take portion of that using the pit tags, because that's kind of costs a little bit more money to pit tag them.
Oh, yeah.
Before we get them back. So that will help us to recapture them for the monitoring program, because the purpose for restoration is we want to make sure the restored population, they are healthy, and the population is growing, and that's how you all can get those information from the recapturing of those mussels. That's what we tag them for sure before we put them out.
Just to add to what Dan said with the pit tag she was mentioning, that stands for passive integrated transponder, which is a fancy way of saying that we chip our mussels the same way you would with a dog or a cat.
Yeah.
And then we can actually tell those individuals and track them, and it's actually pretty cool, some of the stuff that she's developed and worked with those pit tags to you don't even actually have to handle the animals if you don't want to, if you want to see if they're even still there. So
That's right. Yeah.
That was the back. I did my PhD monitoring those released populations of freshwater mussels back in Virginia. So that's the first time I applied the pit tag on the freshwater mussels, and then we applied on the one endangered species I used for my PhD study. And after I using pit tag, and the recapture rates from below 5% to over 98%.
Wow.
So that's how, and now I think pit tag has been used everywhere for the mussel, tagging.
That's that 98% I was looking for.
Yeah, that's what I said coming from that.
Detection. Yeah, the detection rate. That's cool. And that's the same type of tag we use in our fish too, right?
Yeah.
Pit tags are used in fish, and
Yeah, exactly.
it does make it easier to find them. So just recently, you guys were out collecting and doing some work with those mussels. What was that work? I saw some pictures. You had bunches of them you had collected, and is that some of the
That is
post collection and things that you're working on?
Yeah, that's the part of our monitoring program.
Monitoring, yes.
So
Okay.
we do that every year, and especially for restored population, because that's what we want to make sure they're doing okay. And that's the picture you saw. That's the one we collected then through the pit tagging. You have the detector. You saw the detector over there, and by the time it's hard to find them.
Yeah.
If you do not use the pit tag.
Yeah.
And then when you use the pit tag, you find them, you locate them. You also find the ones without the pit tag at the same time. So that's the picture you saw those.
Okay. And then if they're not pit tag, that's success there. That's
Yeah. Because you just need to know the portion of your released population, be able to do your modeling stuff. So.
Yeah, so that's the really cool thing this year is Dan was out doing some of the monitoring. Actually, even I guess it was Don Hubbs, who's a retired mussel biologist here. He was out doing a survey on the Duck River, and he picked up a small juvenile pale lilliput, and it wasn't tagged. So that was obviously one that
good news
that came from recruitment of the animals that they'd put out. And then when we were at the Duck River this year, I guess it was this fall, we picked up at least one more there. And so that's really cool. When you start seeing those animals recruiting into the population, that's the success you want to see, because, we don't want to be putting these animals out forever for an individual population. Otherwise, we just kind of have a put and take mussel population. But if we can actually head start them to where they can start producing their own animals and produce a viable population, that's what builds another population that meets the check boxes, I guess, in the recovery plans for ultimately delisting these species.
Yeah.
That is the species we talked about, pale lilliput. That's the one we target for delist or downlist.
Yeah. I bet that's rewarding to be out there and see that, and
that's the most exciting thing to see the recruitment.
I'd say it's very emotional for you guys. I mean, you work on those all the time.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I had down here to talk about some of the gear and things that you use out in the field. What I'm sure there's for collection and sampling. I know you're out with shockers getting the fish, and there's cool technology y'all get to use out there and in the labs.
Yeah, mostly when we collect the fish, we use the backpack shock, that kind of thing, and then also get the help from our hatchery. They usually produce the fish, so I will collect the post fish from them. Eagle Bay Hatchery and the Springfield Hatchery, and our lake crew guys like Pat and his team, and Mike from the Region 1, the team, because they do the sampling all the time. They will, provide us some host fish as well. So it's that's back to what I said. It's just a family, and everybody help each other.
Everybody works together.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
And so for in order to get the mussels, what we do a lot of times, of course, it's the same thing. We do it's that family effort. We have all of our regional folks that come out and help, folks from here, folks from all over, and we'll go out to the rivers. And in a lot of cases, most of your rare mussels are going to be in water that's less than knee deep.
Okay.
That's just the ideal habitat. And that's why a lot of them aren't so common anymore either, because a lot of the reservoirs and the damming of rivers has just caused inhospitable habitats for them, but driven away the host fish as well. But so in that shallow water, we can go in there and snorkel or hand collect, do that kind of stuff. But occasionally, if we need to go get some of the bigger river species, something like the Tennessee River, we have specialized boats that we can go out, actually dive down to the bottom.
Yeah.
We got surface air supply diving equipment, so you can get down there and you don't have to have a tank and all the stuff that can be a little bit of a pain when you're diving. But you just have that air hose running down, and you just the air is going to come down through there, and you can have a lot more time without having to go get tanks filled, and it's just a very beneficial way of collecting these animals. But a lot of times, if you can't see anything, you're down there just feeling in the dark, and things that go bump in the night. It's kind of one of those deals. You might as well have your eyes closed, but you just reach around and feel what you can, and sometimes you can see it, and you can kind of figure out what you have there and bag it and bring it to the surface. And then once we get those, we bring them back here where they can be held, and then when the time's right, whenever we get the host fish, everything else is going right, Dan can work her magic to infest them and grow them out and hopefully get them out there so we can keep those populations going.
Awesome.
Yeah, lucky we have our dive team and would be able to do that, because I'm not certified, and only some people can do the river dive. We call scientific dive. It's different as other kind of dive. I'm open water certified, but not for the scientific dive.
So it all everybody works together. Got good teamwork.
Yes.
It's been amazing to hear how these processes work and the work that you guys are doing. It's great, and how y'all work together. I would encourage folks, if you're out in these small streams and rivers, to keep your eyes out, and if you see them, that's cool. Would you suggest not touching, not handling, but just to observe them and
that would be best. They don't really like being disturbed, so if they're alive, sometimes when you handle them, you can cause some disturbance. The other thing that a lot of people aren't aware of, there's a lot of endangered mussels, and handling them without the appropriate permits is a violation of law, so you're better off just to leave them be and observe them from a distance. Same thing with shells that you see there. Those are parts of endangered species, or could be parts, and that would be a violation as well. So
but while you're out there, enjoy seeing them and notice these things around you. It's pretty cool. But remember, they're endangered and can be, and it's good to leave them alone, but just enjoy Tennessee wildlife. Get outside.
Thank you guys for all you do. This is an amazing,
all you do too.
Amazing facility, and just great team, and appreciate you guys very much.
Thank you very much.
One of the things I just wanted to throw out there, this is a great facility that a lot of people wouldn't know about without programs like this. So thank you for getting the word out there.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, this is Tennessee Wildcast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.